Historic oral arguments involving abortion rights will be heard inside the Supreme Court today. At stake, whether to uphold a Mississippi law that could overrule the landmark ruling of Roe v. Wade. Now, that decision said that states can't ban abortion unless a fetus is viable or can survive outside the womb. Viability, though, once again, right smack dab in the middle of this debate. Our D.C. correspondent, Bofta Yeman, joins us live now from outside the Supreme Court. Lots of people there, including Bofta. Good morning.
Good morning, Dallin. Good morning to everyone at home. Hundreds of demonstrators have been showing up, slowly trickling in since early this morning on both sides of the issue, and they are passionate and they are vocal. You can hear them behind me. I'm actually going to step out of the shot to show you a little bit about what we are seeing here. Most of them have been really working alongside each other, passing out different marketing material for their side of the issue. You can see the signs: overturn Roe, secular, pro-life. Another sign saying don't tread on me. So they are going back and forth at the podium at this hour as the oral arguments are being heard inside the Supreme Court from the justices. Now, a little background: most recently, states could not ban abortion before the point of viability at about 24 weeks. Today, at this hour, the justices weighing whether to uphold a Mississippi law that bans abortions after 15 weeks, a direct challenge to Roe v. Wade. Now, under the Mississippi law, abortions after 15 weeks would be allowed only in medical emergencies or for severe fetal abnormality. There's no exception for rape or incest. Now, in 1973, the Roe v. Wade ruling established a woman's constitutional right to end a pregnancy. With the Supreme Court holding a 6-3 conservative majority, many pro-life activists are hopeful this could be their chance to make it easier for states to ban or severely restrict abortion rights. We spoke to two women on both sides of the issue. Take a listen to what they had to say.
I remembered the day that I went. I had my first abortion in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and that was the first time I had any interactions with antis and protesters outside the clinic. And I remember I was super nervous, and when I got inside the space and I was greeted, the doctors were nice, the nurses were nice, and it really catapulted my interest to want to be able to advocate.
My greatest concern is they won't find the right answer. They won't make the appropriate decision. I hope they do. The unborn have rights. They're human rights. Women equality. There are women in the womb that are being murdered and young men in the womb being murdered. And they have a right to life. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
Now, the court is not expected to hand down a decision until next year, and we know, Dell, this could time out where it's right around the midterm elections. Many folks here who we spoke to are saying that, look, we are going to show up each and every time there's any type of movement within this, because this is so critical, it is so historic, and so important for women. Back to you.
Bofta Yeman for us outside the Supreme Court. Bofta, thank you very much. And the High Court's decision could mean a return to back alley abortions that this generation never knew. People too poor for good health care, forced to go places that no one should ever have to go. And keep in mind, prior to Roe, one of the leading causes of death for young black women was abortion. Our political panel is back. The former Vice President Mike Pence is asking the justices to uphold the Mississippi law. Take a listen.
It's not hard to imagine that the day will soon come when the radical left begins touting abortion as a tool for managing population growth. Today, as the Supreme Court prepares to hear oral arguments in those hallowed halls, we are here to declare with one voice, no more.
Amisha, I'll begin with you and address the hypocrisy of this. If the justices allow the Mississippi law to stand, millions of women would be affected. But it seems ironic that we are having a debate about my body, my choice when it comes to vaccines and mask mandates, and yet the same courts seem poised to reverse Roe.
Absolutely, and the Republican Party is nothing if not filled with irony and hatred. At this point, you know, they are deciding whose life matters and whose life doesn't. And apparently they're absolutely fine spreading COVID-19 far and wide, even though we know how many people it has killed since its origins were discovered here in the United States. With that being said, as a woman, and I think that I've revealed on this show before, I previously had an abortion myself, 1 in 4 American women will. it is frustrating that this is something that is being taken up by the high court in general, because this was an already decided case. I think that Mississippi, a state that only has one abortion clinic in general, is one of the states that reminds me of how you opened this segment. There have been several people who've done backwoods abortions in Mississippi, even till present day, because there's only one abortion clinic in the entire state. I think that what we're seeing now is a huge and revolting push against women's reproductive rights and women's reproductive justice. And it will end very horribly looking at the makeup of this court. This is a court who I believe is going to either get rid of Roe v. Wade entirely, or it's going to strip it down to its bare bones, making it almost impossible for women to be able to seek healthy and safe abortions. And that to me is something that is completely illogical. It's something that puts women's health at risk. It's something that puts women's economic justice at risk. It's something that a Republican Party who does not want to support food stamps, that does not want to support parental leave, paid parental leave, a party that does not want to support early childhood education and environmental safety for young people. This is a party that does not care about life or the continuum of life, but apparently just wants to control women's wombs. And that to me is completely disgusting, and we need to do something about it today.
Christina, this is the fascinating part about this, is that the court has now said that it is sensitive to the way it is being perceived by the public. But 70% of those polled support a woman's right to choose. The Supreme Court could actually be setting up an issue that divides America, unlike something that we have seen since 1864, the Civil War.
Yeah, I don't think that the Supreme Court has ever really listened to what the public says. Although I would say that would be an exception with that would be gay marriage. I think that was the arguments for gay marriage were definitely based on the trend in our society. I don't know if Roe v. Wade or abortion rights is a case in this situation, because there has always been this support and more over the course of history for abortion rights, for the right to choose. And yet there continue to be movements to try to diminish it in courts from the state, federal, and now hopefully not the Supreme Court, but I don't know if I have that much trust in them, especially given the way that the 3 justices appointed by Trump answered the question around Roe v. Wade and their intention to potentially overrule precedent.